They go out through the big door at the back. As they go, Cucullin and a certain young kings come in at the side door. Cucullin, though still young, is a good deal older than the others. They are all very gaily dressed, and have their hair fastened with balls of gold. The young men crowd about Cucullin with wondering attention. First young king: You have hurled that stone beyond the utmost mark, time after time, but yet you are not weary. Second young king: He has slept on the bare ground of Food's hill this week past, waiting for the bulls and the deer. Cucullin: Well, why should I be weary? Young king: It is certain his father was the god who wields the sun, and not the king Sultame. Third young king, to a young king who is beside him: He came in the dawn, and folded Dectra in a sudden fire. And yet, the fourth young king, and yet mother's half might well grow weary, and it new come from labors overseas. Third young king: He has been on islands walled about with silver, and fought with giants. They gather about the ale vat, and begin to drink. Cucullin: Who was it that went out? Third young king: As we came in? Cucullin: Yes. Third young king: Beric and the blind Fintain. Cucullin: They always flock together. The blind man has the need of the fool's eyesight and strong body, while the poor young fool has need of the other's wit, and night and day is up to his ears in mischief. That blind man imagines there's no hen-yard, but clucks and cackles when he passes by, as if he's been a fox. If I'd that ball that's in your hair and the big stone again, I'd keep them tossing, though the one is heavy and the other light in the hand. A trick I learnt when I was learning arms in Aelof's country. First young king: What kind of woman was that Aelof? Eophi. Cucullin: Comely. First young king: But I have heard that she was never married, and yet that's natural, for I've never known a fighting woman, but made her favours cheap, or mocked at love till she grew sandy dry. Cucullin: What manner of woman do you like the best, a gentle or a fierce? First young king: A gentle, surely. Cucullin: I think that a fierce woman's better, a woman that breaks away when you have thought her won, for I'd be fed and hungry at one time. I think that all deep passion is but a kiss in the mid-battle, and a difficult peace twixt oil and water, candles and dark night, hillside and hollow, the hot-footed sun, and the cold, sliding, slippery-footed moon, a brief forgiveness between opposites that has been hatreds for 3 times of the age of his long-established ground. Here, Concobar, so I'd be done, but keep beside me still, for while he talks of hammered bronze and asks what wood is best for building, we can talk of a fierce woman. Concobar, a man much older than Cucullin, has come in through the great door at the back. He has many kings about him. One of these kings, Dare, a stout old man, is somewhat drunk. Concobar, to one of those about him: Has the ship gone yet? We have need of more bronze workers, and that ship I sent to Africa for gold is late. Cucullin: I knew their talk. Concobar, seeing Cucullin: You are before us, king. Cucullin: So much the better, for I welcome into my Muir theme. Concobar: But who are these? The odor from their garments when they stir is like a wind out of an apple garden. Cucullin: My swordsmen and harp players and fine dancers, my bosom friends. Concobar: I should have thought, Cucullin, my graver company would be better match your greatness and your years, but I waste my breath in harping on that tale. Cucullin: You do, great king, because their youth is the kind of wandering wave that carries me about the world, and if it sank, my sword would lose its lightness. Concobar. Yet, Cucullin, Emain should be the foremost town of the world. Cucullin. It is the foremost town. Concobar. No, no, it's not. Nothing but men can make towns great, and he, the one overtopping man that's in the world, keeps far away. There. He will not hear you, king, and we old men had best kept company with one another. I'll fill the horn for you. Concobar. I will not drink, old fool. You have drunk a horn at every door we came to. Dare. You'd better drink, for old men light upon their youth again in the brown ale. When I have drunk enough, I am like Cucullin, as one pea another, and live like a bird's flight from tree to tree. Concobar. We'll to our chairs, for we have much to talk of, and we have Wlad and Muirtheme, and here is Conall Muirtheme in the nick of time. He goes to the back of stage to welcome a company of kings who come in through the great door. The other kings gradually get into their places. Cucullin sits in his great chair with certain of the young men standing around him. Others of the young men, however, remain with Dare at the ale vat. Dare holds out a horn of ale to one or two of the older kings as they pass him going to their places. They pass him by, most of them silently refusing. Dare. Will you not drink? An old king. Not till council's over. A young king. But I'll drink, Dare. Another young king. Fill me a horn too, Dare. Another young king. If I'd drunk half that you have drunk today, I'd be upon all fours. Dare. That would be natural, when Mother Earth has given you this good milk from her great breasts. Cucullin, to one of the young kings beside him. One is content a while with the soft, warm woman who folds up our lives in silky network. Then one knows not why, but one's away after a flinty heart. The young king. How long can the net keep us? Cucullin. All our lives, if there are children, and a dozen moons. If there are none, because a growing child has so much need of watching, it can make a passion that's as changeable as the sea, change till it holds the wide earth to its heart. At least I've heard a father say it, but I, being childless, do not know it. Come nearer yet, though he is ringing that old silver rod, we'll have our own talk out. They cannot hear us. Concobar, who is now seated in his great chair opposite Cucullin, beats upon the pillar of the house that is the nearest to him with a rod of silver, till the kings have become silent. Cucullin alone continues to talk in a low voice to those about him, but not so loud as to disturb the silence. Concobar rises and speaks standing. Concobar. I have called you hither, kings of Wlad and kings of Muirtheme and Conall Muirtheme and tributary kings, for now there is peace. It is time to build up Emain that was burned at the outsetting of these wars, for we, being the foremost men, should have high chairs and be much stared at and wondered at, and speaking out of more laughing overflowing hearts than common men. It is the art of kings to make what's noble nobler in men's eyes by wide uplifted roofs where beaten gold that's ruddy with desire marries pale silver among the shadowing beams, and many a times I would have called you hither to this work, but always, when I'd all but summoned you, some war or some rebellion would break out. Dare. Where's Main Morgar and old Ursac's children, and that high-headed, even-walking queen, and many near as great that have got their death because you hated peace? I can remember the people crying out when Deirdre passed, and Main Morgor had a cold grey eye. Well, well, I'll throw this heel tap on the ground, for it may be they are thirsty. A king. Be silent, fool. Another king. Be silent, Dare. Concobar. Let him speak his mind. I have no need to be afraid of ghosts, for I have made but necessary wars. I warred to strengthen Emain, or because When wars are out, they marry and beget, and have their generations like mankind, and there's no help for it. But I'm well content that they have ended, and left the town so great that its mere name shall be in times to come like a great ale vat, where the men of the world shall drink no common ale, but the hard will, the unquenchable hope, the friendliness of the sword. He takes thin boards on which plans have been carved by those about him. Give me the building plans, and have you written that we, Cucullin is looking in his shield, it may be the pale riders of the wind, throw pictures on it, or that Manan, his father's friend and sometimes fosterer, foreknower of all things, has cast a vision out of the cold dark of the rich sea, foretelling Emain's greatness. Cucullin, no great king. I looked on this out of mere idleness, imagining a woman that I loved. The sound of a trumpet within. Concobar, open the door, for that is a herald's trumpet. The great door at the back is flung open. A young man who is fully armed and carries a shield with a woman's head painted on it stands upon the threshold. Behind him are trumpeters. He walks into the center of the hall. The trumpeting ceases. What's your message? Young man, I am of Eoph's army. First King, Queen Eoph and her army have fallen upon us. Second King, out swords, out swords. Third King, they are about the house. Fourth King, rush out before they have fired the thatch. Young man, Eophi is far away. I am alone. I've come alone in the midst of you to weigh this sword against Cucullin's sword. There is a murmur amongst the kings. Concobar, are you noble? For if of common seed, you cannot weigh your sword against his sword, but in mixed battle. Young man, I am under bonds to tell my name to no man, but it's noble. Concobar, but I would know your name and not your bonds. You cannot speak in the assembly house if you are not noble. A king, answer the high king. Young man, drawing his sword, I will give no other proof than the hawk gives that it's no sparrow. He is silent a moment, then speaks to all. Yet, look upon me, kings. I too am of that ancient seed, and carry the signs about this body and in these bones. Cucullin, to have shown the hawk's grey feather is enough, and you speak highly too. Cucullin comes down from his great chair. He remains standing on the steps of the chair. The young kings gather about him and begin to arm him. Give me that helmet. I thought they had grown weary sending champions. That coat will do. I'd half forgotten, boy, how all those great kings came into that mousetrap that had been baited with Mav's pretty daughter. How Findabear, that blue-eyed Findabear, but the tale is worthy of a winter's night. That buckle should be tighter. Give me your shield. There is a good level ground at Bale's Yule tree, some dozen yards from here, and it's but truth that I am sad today, and this fight welcome. He looks hard at the young man, and then steps down to the floor of the assembly house. He grasps the young man by the shoulder. Hither into the light. Turning to one of the young kings, that's the very tint of her that I was speaking of but now. Not a pin's difference. To the young man, you are from the north, where there are many that have that tint of hair, red-brown, the light red-brown. Come nearer, boy, for I would have another look at you. There's more likeness, a stone pale cheek. What brought you, boy? Have you no fear of death? Young man, whether I live or die is in the gods' hands. Cucullin, that is all words, a young man's talk. I am their plough, their harrow, their very strength. For he that's in the sun begot this body upon a mortal woman, and I have heard tell, it seems as if he had outrun the moon, that he must always follow through waste heaven. He loved so happily. but he'll be slow to break a tree that was so sweetly planted. Let's see that arm. I'll see it if I like. That arm has a good father and a good mother, but it is not like this. Young man, you are mocking me. You think I am not worthy to be fought, but I'll not wrangle but with this talkative knife. Cucullin, put up your sword. I'm not mocking you. I'd have you for my friend, but if it's not because you have a hot heart and a cold eye, I cannot tell the reason. You've got her fierceness, and nobody is as fierce as those pale women. To the young kings, we'll keep him here in Muirtheme a while. A young king, you are the leader of our pack, and therefore may cry what you will. Cucullin, you'll stop with us, and we will hunt the deer and the wild bulls, and, when we have grown weary, light our fires in sandy places where the wool-white foam is murmuring and breaking, and it may be that long-haired women will come out of the dunes to dance in the yellow firelight. You hang your head, young man, as if it was not a good life. And yet, what's better than to hurl the spear and hear the long-remembered harp and dance? Friendship grows quicker in the murmuring dark. But I can see there's no more need for words, and that you'll be my friend now. First Old King, Concobar, forbid their friendship, for it get twisted to a reproach against us. Concobar, until now, I'd never need to cry Cucullin on. I'd never need to cry Cucullin on, and would not now. First Old King, they say his manhood's quenched. Cucullin, I'll give you some gifts, but I have something too, an arm ring or the like, and if you will, we'll fight it out when you are older, boy. An Old King, Eof will make some story out of this. Cucullin, well, what's the matter? I'll have that arm ring, boy. There is no man I'd sooner have my friend than you, whose name has gone about the world as if had been the wind. But Eof say I'd turn coward. Cucullin, I'll give you gifts that Eolaf'll know, and all her people know, to have been my gifts. Manon, son of the sea, gave me this heavy purple cloak. 9 queens of the land under wave have woven it out of the fleeces of the sea. Oh, tell her I was afraid, or tell her what you will. No, tell her that I heard a raven croak on the north side of the house and was afraid. An Old King, some witch of the air has troubled Cucullin's mind. Cucullin, no witchcraft. His head is like a woman's head. I had a fancy for it. Second Old King, a witch of the air can make a leaf confound us with memories. They have gone to school to learn the trick of it. Cucullin, but there's no trick in this. That armoring, boy. Third Old King, he shall not go unfought. I'll fight with him. Fourth Old King, no, I will fight with him. First Old King, I claim the fight, for when we sent an army to her land. The second Old King, I claim the fight, for one of Eof's galleys stole my great cauldron and a herd of pigs. Third Old King, no, I claim it for Lammas's time. Cucullin, back, put up your swords. There's none alive that shall accept a challenge I have refused. Laegaire, put up your sword. Young man, no, let them come. Let any 3 together, if they've the mind to. I'll try out with 4. Cucullin, that's spoken as I'd spoken it at your age. But you are in my house. Whatever man would fight with you shall fight it out with me. They're dumb. How many of you would meet drawing his sword? This mutterer, this old whistler, this sandpiper, this edge that's grayer than the tide, this mouse that's gnawing at the timbers of the world, this. Boy, I would meet them all in arms if I'd a son like you. He would avenge me when I had withstood for the last time the men whose fathers, brothers, sons, and friends I have killed, upholding Ulad, when the 4 provinces have gathered with the ravens over them. But I'd need no avenger. You and I would scatter them like the water from a dish. Young man. We'll stand together, we'll stand one by another from this out. Here's the ring. Cucullin. No, turn and turn about. But my turn is first, because I am the older. Cleodon Cleodna embroidered these bird wings, but fanned made all these little golden eyes with the hairs that she had stolen out of Angus's beard, and therefore none that has this cloak about him is crossed in love. The heavy inlaid brooch that Buan hammered has a merit too. He begins, spreading the cloak out on the bench, showing it to the young man. Suddenly Concobar beats with his silver rod on a pillar beside his chair. All turns towards him.